I began dancing when I was 6 years old, and it was because I wanted to copy my sister. I'm from Brazil, and I come from poverty. I born in favela. So I knew that if I wanted to do that professionally, since I did have a lot of talent and I won a lot of competitions, I needed to go out. So then I did, and my whole mentality was always to make it so then I can go back home and buy a house for my mom. My mindset was to make it for me and for my family. But along the way, you kind of lose the track because the career, it is a beautiful career, but if you don't have a good mindset, if you're not strong enough, you can fall into patterns and fall into what people think is right for you, and you kind of forget your values and where you come from. It's funny because it's a lot of pain, but with all that pain, I'm finding home again. My mom came to visit my third year here with Philadelphia Ballet, and she stayed for 2 weeks with me, and she would wear her pajamas. And I remember we would have, great times together, and I always remember her in that pajama. And before she left, she forgot the pajama there in my house. And every time I have an important show, I use her pajamas the night before, and I always feel like I feel blessed. And I always remember her. They helped me. When I did the Sleeping Beauty, I remember I had the fittings. You have the fitting, and then you just put the tutu on, and then they say, oh, this is the crowd. And then you kind of just see it, and it's fine. But then when I was getting ready, it was an hour before the show. I remember that I was just putting my ponchos, and I put the crown. And I had a mirror, and I looked at the mirror, and I said, oh my God, I made it. I made it as a dancer. I didn't even know that I looked like that. I didn't even know, because I always think of myself being different. I don't know why. I think this is something that I need to work on, but I think it's because I'm Brazilian, and every time something like this happens, you think of all the hard parts that happen in your life. So I never thought I would feel like this about myself. Like, I am the Cinderella. For anyone that doesn't come from money knows that you're gonna have to work your whole life. It's just the mentality you have, especially Brazilians. I do believe that beauty comes from struggle because it's something that you carry with you. It's like, I cannot see my family, and just the thought of it kills me. But I'm so proud to be here. And I know that I work hard, and I'm not losing time with them because I'm constantly working towards being good and finding myself.
I am the property master, and basically my job is to take care of like the floor, any hand props, the comforts of the dancers, like if they need a heater or ice packs. I take care of the breaks, getting like pretzels and stuff. I have a candy drawer. All the new dancers, when they come in, I try to tell them, look, there's something you need when you're coming off stage, let me know and it'll be there for you. I make sure they have hard candy, or you're drying out. I got water there for them. Got some hand lotion for them in case they start drying out. Tissues, so like if they're sweating, they can dab it off. And I put buckets right there with trash cans. There's always like a sewing kit on each side of the floor so they can sew their shoes. There's towels sitting there. They can sit on the towels so that their costumes don't touch the ground. And then I make sure the sew kits are always filled with like needles, different color threads. Scissors are big, glue, tape. Just being prepared and organized is the biggest part of my job. My dad was the head electrician for a long time, but then when he wanted to retire, he didn't want to just leave right away. So he became the assistant property master for the Academy of Music. And actually we worked together for a year and a half. I meant to be an electrician, but the prop job was just so much more my style. I've been going to the ballet since I was a kid. Me, my mom, my grandmother, and my sister would go because my dad was backstage working, turning the lights on and off. And it was fun. We got all dressed up. We went downtown. We'd go somewhere to eat. We'd walk around the big city because I was from the suburbs. We got to go backstage, meet the people, and everyone was so friendly. One nutcracker, I was up there when they were doing snow. I was maybe like 8 or 10 years old, and I couldn't believe how high up in the air these guys were, and they're just pulling on these ropes, and everything's just moving, and everyone knew what rope to pull. It was amazing because it was like maybe like 50 to 100 I don't know how many line sets there were back then. There was just ropes everywhere, and everyone just happened to know which rope to pull at just the right time. Then they sit there and talk for 5 minutes and then turn around and pull one. And, as a kid, that was just amazing. Sometimes you just don't know till you see it. Because a lot of the things that I do, it's not like, oh, yeah, I need this, and it's just on the shelf somewhere. Like, yeah, I need a nutcracker. Yeah, they're on the shelf, but they're not like the right size, not the right color. They'll break easy. They're not, not strong enough. So I buy them, but then I have to cut them down and redesign them to the way they have to look and the durability that I need for the show. My first nutcracker lasted a few years before it got broken in half, and I couldn't fix it because it had literally split right down the middle. I had it back up. I stuck it in there. It wasn't as good looking as the original, but it was like right near the end. I think there was like 2 shows that the old nutcracker went through. So I said, you know what? I can't do this. We have to make new nutcrackers. So I went looking for nutcrackers, and there's no nutcrackers the right size, the right color, everything I need. So I went and purchased nutcrackers that were like 4 or 5 inches too tall, a whole bunch of them. What I did was I cut them down to the right size, painted them the way they had to be, and then I attached them with dowels and some glue. And so now what happens is that the nutcrackers are in a condition where they're fine. If you're dancing around, if you drop it, it probably won't break, but if you drop it hard, they'll break. But it breaks at the dowel. So all I have to do is sand it down, drill out the holes, glue a new piece of wood in there, and that nutcracker is good to go. Although I do have like 8 nutcrackers just in case. You have to be able to build things. I have lots of bouquets, tambourines, all kinds of things that I fixed. I get them at flea markets, I fix them up. Every once in a while I see something on sale somewhere, and I'll just get it and just put it in the stock, because you never know what they're going to ask you for. What people might not know about backstage is that it's a beautiful chaos, because we've already rehearsed. Okay, everyone knows what they have to do, but you might have different dancers. They had different stagehands. It's a different day. It's live theater. Things can go wrong, and you have to be ready for it.
When you put on something that has been made for you, I'd never really understood it when people get, suits made, and they talk about it like it changes your life. You put it on and you feel 10 feet taller. There was Tybalt's costume, it was like this green puffed, it was like there were channels of leather that were like puffy, and it was a tunic, and he had a cape. Oh my God, he had a cape. And he had these gorgeous leather green gloves that came up to like mid forearm, and the boots that came up just to calf. The clothes were hot. I mean, like in temperature, yes, but hot. I mean, I looked good. Backstage is very, very, it's not like any place else in the world. It's full of movement with no noise, because you can't make any noise. And it's full of whisper. There's so much talking, but there's no noise. So it's this really odd sort of space to be in. And there's this energy that's like built into that space, right? The lights go down and all of a sudden the energy shifts, because all the energy can't be on the stage, because it has to be controlled on the stage. And so you can be backstage, and now all that anxious energy you have is sort of like bubbling up until you have to control it on the stage, right? But there's just lots of commotion. I always thought when you're dancing, music should look like it's coming from you and it's not happening at you or to you. Right? That you're so in sync that it's like a dance with the music. Beatrice Affron, the conductor for Philadelphia Ballet, she understands that. I've said this to her, that she was my longest and best dance partner ever. Because there's this thing that when we were on stage, there's this connection that I had with her. She had this sense of the dance and what you're really trying to do, right? And what she had to put the music with you, which is a really hard thing to do because the music has its own time signature. And sometimes that don't work for the dancer. It's like, I am not moving that fast. So she had to figure out how to meld those two. And sometimes in doing that, she pushed you sometimes faster than you wanted to go. But then you ended up doing things that you didn't think you could do. And there's times when she's paying attention to you so much and that she has to make I once watched her hold a note in Swan Lake for a dancer who was holding a balance. She was like, I'm just gonna hold this note until you calm down. And it was amazing. The day I retired from Pennsylvania Ballet, that was hard. And I'm an ugly crier, so I was trying to keep it together. But but that was hard because I was leaving my friends, I was leaving that and going into a space that I did not know. And when you do it so young, there's no sort of playbook for it. For about 6 months after, I went through a depression. It was bad, but I got through it. The hardest part of retiring for me was not being in the studio and creating movement with dancers and being in movement with dancers. I'm in there as a choreographer and I create movement, but I'm not in the space with the dancers moving, and there's this type of camaraderie and union that happens when you are moving in space together. It's euphoric. You're one group and you're doing the thing and you're, oh my God.
I think when you see your three-dimensional form step off this page of a sketch, for me, being a dance designer, it doesn't happen till they're on stage and they're moving. Once they're moving, that's when the magic happens. That's when it becomes a living plant, a living thing. I may listen to the music 30 times before I start to get inspiration. It drives my family crazy. When my children were little and they would come home after school and they'd hear some music they'd heard when they left the house in the morning, they're really annoyed. The music is what takes you there. If I think of a skirt going up in the air to 4 counts of the music, and then I know the time it takes a certain fabric to fall down. If I need it to fall down in 2 counts, I'm going to do a different type of fabric than if I want it to float slowly with the tempo of the music. Then I'll maybe draw dancers in movement in an idea. And I work in watercolors. I think it's actually very musical to be able to work with watercolor. And I love seeing the character or the dancer come to life before my very eyes. If it's a very fast, modern tempo, maybe I don't need a swish of a skirt. So then maybe it is a stretched little short mini skirt or something. But if I want it to be a full circle skirt because I want the skirt to get that wiggle, wiggle, wiggle when the dancer goes around. And that man's arm. Do I want to see the skin of the arm? Do I want to see the billowing of a poet's sleeve? Or do I want it to be a rolled up sleeve that's tight to the arm and suggests, a West Side Story or something? Sometimes I'll sneak a little hidden something inside a costume, like a mentor before me, who was a famous costume maker, would put a little tiny rosebud in the bottom of the hem. And she did that just for the dancer to know there was a little bit of love. And it's a lovely tradition. So sometimes I will border a little heart on the name tag, or I don't know, there might be some funny thing like a insane asylum actress has nuts in her necklace. Or I love taking the art form into a different level that just makes it more fun. Backstage, right before the dancers perform, is magical. In dress rehearsal, I will make an appearance backstage, but at that point, I really want to see what it looks like from the audience point of view. I got to make sure that under the lights and that with the scenery, if there's any, that everything looks the picture I want it to be. And sometimes I can't see the trim, and I think, why'd we bother? Or I think we better add more to that, or it's too fussy. Can we lose that apron and lose that lace collar? And, so I will take off more than I'll put on when we get in those final stages. And part of that is, it isn't about the clothes. It is about the line of the dancers and the movement and the music. By opening night, really where my eyes need to be is out in the house. I'm sitting out in the audience, gripping my hands, saying a prayer. And then the end is when they're taking their curtain call and they're completely drenched with sweat, but the outfit looks fabulous still.